HomeServices was left holding the bag, and now they're being asked to pay $4.7 billion. Well, there's some nuances here, and ultimately it's not going to end up being that amount. However, the attorneys are ruthless. The Sitzer Burnett plaintiff attorneys just do not miss. They are going to penny count all the way to the bank. So let's check out the story, because it's we understood that this was going to happen, and we thought here on the channel that HomeServices would have settled by now, given the Friday bombshell of NAR's settlement. We're expecting them to tap out anytime soon. So unfortunately, not unfortunately, let me rephrase that. We've been fans of HomeServices over the way that they communicate, the way that they've been responding to these suits and everything in between, because it just seemed that they're the ones that were actually putting forth a compelling effort, a compelling reason to fight back in these particular suits. But unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out their way. So let's see what's going on. This article is courtesy of Inman.com. Check them out. Court weighs $4.7 billion. Sitzer ruling against last holdout HomeServices. Sitzer Burnett plaintiffs asked the court to order the Berkshire Hathaway affiliate to pay most of the nearly $5.4 billion in damages awarded after NAR, Keller Williams, Anywhere, and RE/MAX settled. So let's go. This is a really very brief article, so we're going to breeze right through it. It's a really good catch-up article, though, because it's going to give us indicators of what's going to happen here, or what's likely to happen in the very near future, and also where we've been given. A lot of us have taken more and more interest in the particular settlements because of NAR's announcement on Friday. Now that most defendants have agreed to settle the bombshell Sitzer Burnett case, HomeServices of America may be left holding the bag for the remaining damages to the tune of $4.7 billion. March 18th, attorneys for the Sitzer Burnett plaintiffs, Mr. Michael over there's making an account, he's the lead attorney, filed a motion for entry of judgment in which they asked the court to order HomeServices to pay the vast majority of the damages awarded in the jury verdict this fall. So as a reminder, there was 5 entities that were initially sued in the Sitzer Burnett case, and we heard from NAR, or what their response was here in Friday, where they were settling, or had a proposed settlement of $418 million. Keller Williams settled for $70 million last month. RE/MAX settled before the case. I believe they settled for $55 million. Anywhere Real Estate settled for, $83.5 million, something to that effect. And HomeServices was the entity still left holding on, and the bag that they were holding on to was a $1.78 billion bag. Well, what does that mean? How did we get from that amount to this? Well, there's treble damages in this, potential treble damages, meaning 3 times the damages here. And the attorneys think that HomeServices should absolutely pay that. Well, they of course know that they are not financially capable of paying that. None of these major brokerages, and even if you add them up, they wouldn't be able to pay for this type of judgment. They very well know that. So this is a pressure tactic in getting them to hurry up. They've got a tea time, settle quickly, get us as much money as possible, because we would much rather you pay us something than you go into bankruptcy. That's essentially what's happening. So Anywhere and RE/MAX, we just talked about. We talked about the amounts that they were settled for. And we know what NAR's settlement essentially asked for on Friday. So we're not going to cover that, outside of saying that the trade group agreed to eliminate a NAR rule at the center of the case, known as a cooperative compensation rule, or the participation rule, in it requiring listing brokers to make a blanket unilateral offer of compensation to buyer brokers in order to submit a listing in a realtor affiliated MLS. So essentially, the field for buyer's agent could not be 0. It could be $1. It could be $2. It could be 1%, 2%, 3%, but it could not be 0. That is going away, of course. And we've covered this. We've made 6 videos just very recently on this topic. We've made probably 15 videos on the topic itself. So make sure that you check out the rest of the videos in this channel. But essentially what's happening here is that on Monday's filings, attorneys for the home seller plaintiffs formally asked to treble the Sitzer Burnett damages. So they're trying to get this over quick, right? So they recognize that there's no way that they're going to be able to pay this as required under federal antitrust law to $5.36 billion and to hold HomeServices defendant liable for the full amount after subtracting the amount from the other settlements. So essentially they're taking the settlements that have happened that we just added up, and they're saying, hey, you know what? We're not going to say that you need to pay everything. We already have some millions in the bank. We just want you to pay the rest. Oh my gosh, these people are just unbelievable. The plaintiffs seek oh yeah, of course, cover the fees, cover the cost, and all that fun stuff because they're paying. They're let's see, where are we? They added settlement, ask for common emotion. Here we go. Here's our boy Chris Kelly. I'm a fan of Chris Kelly. I am. The way that unfortunately this doesn't necessarily bode well for him in HomeServices, but I've just been a fan of Chris Kelly and the way that he's handled the situation and being actually out front in things and in addressing these things head on. But it just really hasn't panned out for the industry itself, but here specifically as we see for HomeServices. But again, I'm a Chris Kelly fan. I'd love for him to well, I won't make the next comment. As for comment on the motion and whether HomeServices plans to settle, HomeServices Executive Vice President Chris Kelly told Inman damages from an antitrust verdict are treble as a matter of law, and the motion filed by plaintiffs yesterday, while premature, was expected. That's the thing. Is that they were looking to grab more headlines is essentially what's happening. HomeServices continues to aggressively pursue all options to resolve our involvement in the outstanding litigation. I would be shocked if by the end of this week, whatever today is. Today I'm recording this. It's going to go out tomorrow, Wednesday. So today's the 19th. I would be shocked if they haven't settled this by Friday. So whatever Friday is, so tomorrow's 20, 21, 22. By March 22nd, if they haven't settled, I would be very shocked. So here's our boy Michael, Mr. Ketchmark. Send him some love. Let him know that you appreciate his love for home sellers. That he's up to bat for them. Appreciate his involvement. Anyway, so HomeServices is the only holdout from the trial. Ketchmark said the rest of the industry is changing the way they're doing business, but HomeServices continues to fight and argue for a rule that everyone else is abandoning. So I think that it's time for them to realize where the future is headed and get on board. HomeServices anyway, the rest is pretty much fodder. What do you think? For me, I guess the question is going to be, when do you think HomeServices is going to settle? We're going to have an over-under here. At what point do you think HomeServices is going to settle? Because, of course, they're not going to be able to pay for this, even if they wanted to. Obviously, they don't. But even if they wanted to, there's no way that they can pay this. No way if you added everybody together that this amount could get compensated. So the attorneys know that full and well. Pressure tactic. Hey, go ahead and settle. We have a tea time. We just need to know how much you're good for, HomeServices, so then we can position ourselves with Compass, so we can position ourselves with EXP, so we can position ourselves with Redfin, so we can go out after the rest of them, because we just need to continue collecting these checks. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts.